about coffee cultivation. The first coffee plantation was set up here in Karnataka. The fruit resembles a cherry and grows in cluster. Each berry contains two seeds or beans. The coffee plant bears fruits when it is 6 to 8 years old. So, as you are aware, that it is one of the important and more popular after the tea. So, coffee is a favorable drink of South India. Mostly, coffee is having appear the flowers like this. This is the coffee flower. Uh, After that, the beans formation. Type and varieties, if we will talk about the coffee, having the three main varieties: the Arabica coffee, this one, that is the most expensive and one of the superior quality, that is the coffee Arabica. Second one is the Robusta coffee, that is the cheaper variety, that is Robusta. And third one is the Librica coffee, this is, and cultivated in a small area, and it is used for making instant coffee. So very quickly, which prepared, that is the Librica coffee. That's why it is called instant coffee. And important things regarding this coffee cultivation, if we will talk about different bushes and coffee bushes, actually the tree like silver oak and jackfruit are planted a year in advance to produce shade, because in the early stage of the coffee plantation, what we saw that their plantation like bush early stages, because it is very sensitive to the direct exposure of the sunlight, windy area, in such areas. So silver oak and jackfruit, some fruits plants are planted in advance to provide shade, as well as it gives extra income to the farmer. Many of the states are interplanted with orange trees. In between them, some orange trees, cardamom, and pepper vines are to earn additional income, that also cultivated along with the coffee. And coffee shops continue to yield fruits, that is the important thing. The continue to yield fruits for 30 to 35 years, and roasting is an important part of processing, as it gives the brown color and good aroma, flavor and taste of coffee. And that's why the roasting is one of the best way. Why this is roasted? Because it give brown color and good aroma, that means taste, flavor to the coffee, that's why. And major coffee producing area, if we will talk about, then Karnataka is one such important area. So Karnataka produce around 70%, along with Tamil Nadu and Kerala. These are other states, but in totality Karnataka produce the highest, that is 70% of the coffee. There are the two methods of coffee plantation, that is wet and dry method. The coffee processed by the wet method, that is called parchment or plantation coffee. This is obtained by pulping, fermenting and washing. Another method that is called the coffee processing is the dry process, that is also called cherry or native methods. What happens in this methods, the berries are dried under the sunlight, and after that the covering is removed, and the seeds are then pounded to remove the outer covering. So as you can see in the picture, the coffee harvesting is done, and these are the coffee beans. And after this, the coffee gets its characteristic flavor only after roasting, and that's why, as I told previously, the roasting is one of the important process which give the brown color, pleasant taste, all these things. Now another important things about the problems of the coffee cultivators, we will talk about which are the problems faced by the coffee cultivators. Then very first is the common problems like price fluctuations, that is one of the major problem. And sometimes the shortage of labor, so that is the two main problem. Along with that, some common disease subjected particularly in rainy season, that is the fungus growth. So these are some of the problems related with the coffee. Now we will talk about tea cultivation in India. India is the largest tea growing country in the world. There are three main varieties of tea, that is black tea, green tea, and oolong tea. Do you know what is the black tea? This is prepared by drying the leaves in the sun and then rolling and fermenting them. Then black tea is obtained. In green tea, what happens? There is no fermentation and is used in China and Japan. Means there is not any heating process, no change of color. So as it is, they use green tea. Oolong tea is generally it is a greenish brown in color and the leaves are partially fermented, not full fermented, partly that is fermented. So that is oolong tea. Uh, Another important things, these are the areas where the growing condition of the tea and coffee. We learn about coffee that tea requires a temperature range around 13 to 35 degrees Celsius, that is the temperature. Rainfall around 150 to 250 centimeter annually, that is the high amount of rainfall is needed. We will talk about the soil, light and friable foam, preferably mountain soil is very ideal, and highlands and hill slopes where water does not accumulate. So hill slopes are very ideal for the cultivation of tea because that is a higher elevation as well as the water drain out very quickly. Major problem we will talk about that uh, here, that tea cultivation in India, that also price of fluctuations, that is the main problem. And beside that, sometimes the shortage of the labor which prevails in extreme peak seasons of the tea harvesting. Method of cultivation. There are two methods, they are mainly in use. One is the transplantation method and second one is the clone planting method. First, try to understand what is the transplantation methods. The tea gardens are set up on the cleared hill slopes where shade trees are planted in advance, because we know that under the direct exposure of sunlight, plants are affected because they are very sensitive in the early stage. Seeds are shown first in the germination bed, and after 9 to 10 months or more than 9 months, the saplings then brought or transplanted to the gardens where the garden is already weeded so that the tea bush grow without any hindrance under the shade of tree. So that we call the transplantation. But what about the clonal? If we will talk about the clonal planting, so what is that clonal planting? In clonal planting, seeds are shown either by the method clonal planting or by showing them in nursery bed, as we talk about, than in plantation. In clonal planting, what happens is the method when cuttings of good yielding variety mother plant are used rather than seeds. So that mother plants cuts are made from the mother plants and that is injected to the another young seedling, then both grow together. So the virtual characteristics of the mother plant is transmitted to the another inferior variety of coffee seedling, but both together grow and uh, grow as a clonal planting method. So these are clones, and these small cuttings are planted in nurseries where special care is taken. Now, harvesting, plucking of tea leaves, that is a very important method how to pluck the tea leaves. So use of manures and fertilizers is very essential. One more thing, now here tea leaves pruning, what is that? The pruning, that means the tea plant is very essential because of the two reasons. The pruning is must because the removal of the central stem what encourage the quick development of the lateral branches, and also softer leaves are formed, means the quick germination of the softer leaves, and for that it is very essential to pruning. And another cause for pruning, that the height is reduced considerably, so plucking the tea leaf, that is very easy. So it bearing softer leaves in plenty, new shoots are also developed. That's why pruning is done. What is pruning? Pruning means cutting off the tea leaves, so that is called pruning. Another thing is the plucking. What is there? The plucking. In plucking, what happens generally? The two leaves and a bud is plucked together. Two leaves and a bud which is plucked, that is called the plucking. So these two leaves and a bud known as fine plucking. And the question, what is fine plucking? So fine plucking, two leaves and a bud between them, that is plucked, that is called fine plucking. So these are the important things. Now another important thing which is very essential is the processing. In processing, different methods are used. First, try to learn which are these methods. So five important steps are there. One is withering, second is rolling, third is fermentation, fourth is drying, and fifth is sorting. So first, what is withering? So this first part, withering, in which what happened, the leaves are left on shelves and hot air is blown over them to reduce the moisture content. So that is the purpose of the withering, to reduce the moisture content from the leaf. Rolling, what happened in the rolling? The leaves are twisted and then crushed between the rollers to squeeze out the juice, whatever the extra moisture present. So that is squeezed out through this process. So that is called rolling. Next, very important is the fermentation. What is that fermentation? In fermentation, mostly in this the tannin in tea is partially oxidized. Tannin in the tea, that is partially oxidized, changing the color of the leaves to a copper red color. So in fermentations, so change of the color into the copper red color. The temperature and humidity is controlled in fermentation. So under controlled temperature and humidity, fermentation takes place. The next very important, that is the drying and fixing. What is that drying or fixing? In this method, after fermentation, this method takes place. Here tea leaves are put on a conveyor belt, that is conveyor belt is there, and slowly pass through an oven to dry them and to give them a black color. So in this way black tea is obtained. In India we consume the black tea. Another important process after that is the sorting. In sorting, generally the leaves are sorted according to their size. Before sorting, the drying is also one of the important method. Before that drying or fixing that we talk about, the leaves are put in a conveyor belt once again and slowly pass through an oven to dry them and to give them a blacker color. Since this question asked many times in the board, what is drying or fixing? So remember this one. And then sorting is nothing but leaves are sorted according to their size. So that is the sorting process. Next is very important, the blending. What is that? The blending. Blending, that means the mixing together, to blend together. And why it is? To give proper aroma, right flavor, and that's why blending is done. So a number of teas are blended together, for example Darjeeling tea, Assam tea, Kangra tea, Garhwal tea. In this way different tea gardens, tea leaves are mixed together. That mixing process is called blending. And why blending is done? Blending is done to get a aroma, to get a right flavor. So they are then packed in chest and exported through different ports. And Kochi and Kolkata are the two tea exporting ports in India. Now we will talk about major areas of the tea cultivation. So which are the major areas of tea cultivation. So as you know, the major areas, that is Northeast India, is one of the major tea growing areas. Here in Northeast India, Assam plain, that is whole Assam plain, that is the Brahmaputra Valley and Surma Valley on the bordering hill slope, that is very ideal there. Then West Bengal, if we will talk about the in Assam, Brahmaputra Valley is there. Then further West Bengal, there the hill area of Darjeeling, Cooch Behar, and Jalpaiguri. So in West Bengal, remember three areas broadly: Darjeeling, Cooch Behar, and Jalpaiguri. And adjoining state, if we will talk about the Bihar, adjoining to West Bengal, that is the area of Purnia and Jharkhand, Hazaribagh, and Ranchi district. We will talk about the northwestern part of the country, that is the Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh. So there is also tea is one of the important cultivation, tea gardening. And which are they? If we'll talk about the Uttarakhand and other areas, then in Uttarakhand, the main area is Almora and Garhwal district, and in Himachal Pradesh, the Kangra Valley. And we will talk about in South India, which are the important areas. Then South India, this tea is also grown in different regions, different parts, and the part of the Western Ghat, that is very significant in the South India. Three main states are there: the Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, and Kerala. So that you must remember, the Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, and Kerala. But where Karnataka is the Western Ghat, very ideal. Tamil Nadu, the area that is here in Tamil Nadu, that is the Annamalai Hills. This is the area of the Annamalai Hills and the part of the Western Ghat in Kerala. So these are the important. Next to cotton, jute is the second important fiber crop of India. Jute is known as the golden fiber and is an important foreign exchange earner. It is sown between the March and June and harvested in November and December. Before that, why jute is called the golden fiber? This is one of the important questions asked many times in the exam. Because of its color, it is versatile in nature, and because of its multifaceted uses. It's used in gunny bags, ropes, upholstery, strings, carpets, rugs, cloths, tarpaulins, and decorative pieces. For that it is called the golden fiber, because of its color and because of its multifaceted uses. It is also referred as the brown paper bag of the wholesale trade. Do you know why? Because of its widely used. Particularly it is used recently, its sack are used for picking rice, wheat, sugar, pulses, and various other food grain. Cement also, and fertilizer. And jute play a very important role as a cash crop because it earn a lot of foreign exchange. If we will talk about then further the soil and other areas and the geographical requirements, climatical requirements. So the geographical requirement, that means the temperature, rainfall, and soil. So first we will talk about the geographical requirements. It is shown between the March and June, and harvested is done particularly in the November and the December month. Yellow flowers appear in about 4 to 6 months. The bundle of the jute are ratted, which is process. The ratting is one of the process in which the bundles are immersed in soft running water for few days, say to 7 to 10 days. Why? To separate the fiber from the stem, and that process is called ratting. So here you have to learn what is ratting. Ratting is a microbiological process in which fiber is separated from the stem. India has to face a stiff competition in the world international market from Bangladesh as well as synthetic fiber. So soil, if we'll talk, light sandy or clay loam soil is the best for that. Silt laden flood water of the rivers, that's why in the West Bengal, that is the Ganga Brahmaputra delta, that is one of the ideal delta where this jute cultivation takes place. And temperature is also tropical, very high temperature, 24 to 35 degrees Celsius, and these areas also having the humid climate all the year round, and around 170 to 200 centimeter rainfall, that is well distributed, that is there. So that's why these are the main area of the jute cultivation. Now once again, which are the major jute producing areas? So West Bengal is one of them, Bihar is also there, then further you can see Assam, then Odisha. So Bihar also there. So these are the main food producing areas. And Mesta is one of the substitute for jute, that is of the inferior quality. So jute is the best quality, and inferior quality of the jute, that is the substitute what we refer as Mesta. So this is all about this jute cultivation. Now one question, that why the jute cultivation is there in the state of the West Bengal. So behind that, the several reasons are there why it is there. And jute has why to be rated, that means the rating. So once again I reply that jute has to be rated or soaked in soft running water for about a week. Why? To separate the fiber from the stem. So that process is called retting, RETTING.